Major League Baseball is about to get 2 new neighbors, and everything is going to change, and we know exactly what that's going to look like, right? Right?
Step up to the plate. It's the Locked On MLB Squad Show, sponsored by Gametime. From the Dodgers to the Astros, the Mets to the Rangers, and everyone else in the league, with the experts of the Locked On Podcast Network bringing you the most comprehensive breakdown of all the action around the horn. We're coming in spikes up, no hurt feelings allowed, so squad up.
Welcome into the Locked On MLB Squad Show. The most recent edition coming at you is going to include Justin Latta from Locked On Guardians. We got Harry Ruiz from Locked On Dodgers. And, of course, you've got myself hosting the show, Jeff Carr, one half of Locked On Reds. And with us, as always, the man in charge of the Locked On MLB show, Sully. And we are going to talk all about the big thing going on in baseball right now, which is clearly the imminent and absolute realignment of the entire sport and how everybody else is going to have divisions here very, very, very soon. Like 2030 probably. And the expansion that's going to lead to all of that. That's all on today's Locked On MLB Squad Show that is brought to you by Gametime. Download that Gametime app today, create an account, and use the promo code Locked On MLB for $20 off your first purchase. All right, gentlemen. I mean, Rob Manfred has done 2 things this year. He has tried to get players to buy into a salary cap, which we'll talk about a little bit later on this year. And he is talking about realignment, talking about adding teams and all the things that go with that. And so, as we can throw our hats in the ring and add to now the 75 different versions of realignment that they've talked about, where do we see this all going?
I mean,
Montreal Expos are coming back, right? That's where it's going.
There we go. I know.
I would love that. I would absolutely love that. I would love that. I've been, this is the longest that baseball has gone without an expansion since the first expansion. This is that we've not had an expansion in the 21st century. This has been the longest gap. The first expansion was 1961 when the Angels and the second Washington Senators team were created. The first one moved to Minnesota. And the next year, the Mets, and they were called the Houston Colt 45s, were the Houston entries. But, and then every about every 10, 15 years, there was an expansion. We haven't had one since Arizona and Tampa Bay. And there are teams and cities that are absolutely ripe for it. I do not think one of those cities is Las Vegas, but that's a totally different show. But baseball has been wanting to expand for a while, and they haven't been able to because of the A's and Rays stadium situation. It hasn't made sense to expand. And there's just one reason. They're like, just do something, anything, for God's sakes. It looks like the Rays are going to get new ownership. And the A's, the less said about them, the better. But there are cities that could really use it. And there's a couple other factors. There's at least 2 cities that I think that I earmark, and maybe as many as 5 cities in my head that I think could go be really great for baseball. But also, you get the expansion fees. So the teams in baseball are going to get a nice little windfall of money. That's the main reason why they expanded again after the strike, is because the creation of the Rays and the Diamondbacks were able to make up some of the money they lost during the strike. It made no sense to expand that when you had Montreal dying on the vine, but that's a whole different story altogether. But baseball is ripe for it, and I think that once they expand, I think you could have you won't have as much interleague play. But then again, as when the nanosecond wave of universal DH, there's no difference between the leagues anymore. So realign. I think that's I think that's the right thing to do. I agreed with Rob Manfred, as I said a couple of days ago, and I had to see if that was. I had to reread the Book of Revelations to see if that was one of the signs of the end of the world.
Somebody do a welfare check on Sully after that one. If you're agreeing with Rob Manfred, you might be dying.
You might be a redneck.
So that's your sign that you're being held hostage.
Yes. Yeah. If Sully's never in trouble, just know Rob Manfred.
I'm blinking SOS right now, just so you know.
Yeah, no, personally, I feel like, hey, it could be also a distraction tactic. We know that CBA negotiations, that we also have a potential lockout coming up soon. So, Rob Manfred, this isn't new. We've heard about expansion from years back, but what a coincidence in a game where you have a bigger audience than usual because they're playing at Williamsport, because they're playing over there in the Little League World Series Stadium. It's like, oh, this comes up. More people are watching, more people are going to know. And some folks that might not remember from a year or two back that this was a topic, now it comes back. So I feel that that's also a situation, but we're due. We need a couple of more teams. We need relocation. It's crazy that you got Texas and Houston in the West when they're all the way in the state of Texas. Arlington and
Central
Houston.
time zone. Yeah.
Arlington and Houston aren't close to LA and Anaheim. Let me just put that out there. There might be people in the East Coast that think that's the case because they're all together over there in the East Coast. In the West Coast, that's not the case, and that's a long trip for teams that are over here in the Pacific time zone.
Though, to be fair, once upon a time, the Reds and the Dodgers were heated rivals.
Yeah, I know. The Braves used to be in the West.
When I was growing up, Atlanta was in the West, St. Louis was in the East, Chicago was in the West and the East, West in the American League, East in the National League. Cincinnati was in the West, but Chicago was in the East. They flunked geography, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And
Just
math is going to get harder too. I read an article today that said that if there is realignment, expansion and realignment, we are going to see less games and not more, at least less in terms of the regular season. And that's a whole other debate too, is if they bring on more teams, that's why they need more money. That's why they need more playoff games, because you're probably going to have less games just due to math, which I hadn't realized before. And I got to tell you, as a baseball fan, I don't want less baseball. I don't want to go away. I know historically we've had 154 games and other amounts of games. I'm not a purist by any means. I just love the sport. I love watching it. I don't love how it runs itself. So I'm not agreeing with Rob Manfred. I'm disagreeing with Sully. But I don't want less baseball. I don't want to lose however many games. And the owners don't either. The owners won't even give up weekends to have All-Star weekend, All-Star festivities on the weekend. So you got to also convince them to give up gate from games and all that. And that what's going to have to do with that is, like Sully said, you have to get them richer for expansion buy-ins. You have to get them richer with more playoff inventory, which means, guess what? If the playoffs weren't diluted enough for you now, they're only going to get even more diluted. So you know what? It's going to be like some high school tournaments where everybody gets in. So everyone gets to hang a participation trophy every year to say, hey, we got in the playoffs, even though we went 77 and 84, whatever number they want to come up with now.
Well, and playing off of something that Sully and Harry, you guys both said, and it plays off each other very well. Sully, you mentioned the last time we expanded was right after the strike. And Harry, you mentioned that this might be a smokescreen because of what is coming and what we all perceive happening after the 2026 season. Could that just be what it is? Like Rob Manfred is setting this up of like, all right, we already know how we're going to come back from this because we see what's going to be happening after 2026.
And also,
I'm old enough to remember the 1994 strike. And I remember getting into an argument with someone about, they were saying, well, if they don't change this, then we'll see teams have to fold. And I said, well, they just expanded. So which is it? Are we folding or are we expanding? And they were saying, and when they came back, we may have to contract. Meanwhile, we're going to expand to Tampa Bay and Arizona. Which one is it? Which one is it? Who invests money in a failing company who is expanding? But again, I remember also that was that same year that said, do you know what? You take a look, it's just going to be Los Angeles and New York winning it all the time. And at the time, the best teams in baseball were Pittsburgh, Toronto, Oakland, Atlanta, and two of the worst teams in baseball were the Yankees and the Mets. I mean, it's like and even getting in arguments with people about the post I did just the other day saying like, with this, it's unlike the NFL, where teams can win any year. In baseball, it's just always the same teams. We've had 19 different pennant winners in the last 20 years. You haven't had that in the NFL. You haven't had that. You've had teams be division winners one year, and a couple years later, they're disastrous. Hi, Baltimore. Hi, Chicago White Sox. And the Yankees didn't make the playoffs 2 years ago. Neither did the Red Sox. I mean, it's like and we haven't had a repeat champion since 2000. So it's one of those things that people say that sounds right and doesn't, if you do, 40 seconds of research, you'll say, oh, wait a minute, that thing that sounds right is wrong.
Yeah, I think the question of expansion too is very intriguing because I keep seeing all these different options, these cities that keep popping up. I feel like two of them are popping up more than others. So I kind of want to power rank the idea of expansion coming up next. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. This grape, ginger, lime flavored shot brings the iconic taste of a golf course favorite to a non-alcoholic boost. Perfect for sinking birdies or making great memories with friends. It's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Whether you're out on the course or you just need a little extra push to power through your day, like when the Reds are on the West Coast and playing some late-night baseball, 5-Hour Energy Transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor you love without ever leaving the green. The grape ginger lime flavor of 5-Hour Energy Transfusion gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without leaving the course or chasing down that bevy cart. Now you can amp up the fun even more. Just buy, snap, and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for two to any golf tournament in the USA. Tee up that trip at the number 5 HEWin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. Ends October 31st, 2025. There's a Locked On podcast for your favorite baseball team, whether it's the Guardians, the Dodgers, the Reds, the A's. We've all got podcasts, and of course, the league-wide podcast that Sully hosts every single day. And everybody's game is on Locked On MLB Game Night because they watch every game every night so that you don't have to. Make sure you subscribe to your favorite team's podcast today. All right, we've seen Portland, we've seen Nashville, we've seen Salt Lake, we've seen Raleigh. I've even seen Charlotte in something when it comes to different cities that are going to get expansion, or at least they're considered for expansion. How do we power rank these? Because it kind of feels like I hear Portland just about every day. Kind of feels like I hear Nashville like the second most out of all of that. Like, are those the two best cities of this bunch?
I mean, Nashville's going to get a lot of play because it's Nashville. It's I don't want to say it's Las Vegas of the East because it's really not. I guess that's Atlantic City, but it's got that built-in market. Even though I feel like a lot of people who live in Nashville probably are not lifelong people who live in Nashville. Same as Las Vegas. Maybe Harry can correct me on that, but I feel like you get a lot of people out there who are coming in for the travel and the sightseeing. So, are you really going to get people to come and support a baseball team in Nashville? If everyone is making it a vacation destination, you're not going to have.
I will say the Predators have they got a good bunch that supports that hockey club. I almost call them.
Maybe they would. Portland.
Same thing with the Golden Knights in Vegas. The hockey teams, for some
reason,
they
were the first in. They were the first.
That's
one.
True.
And they were great right away. They made the Stanley Cup Finals in their first year. Let's see when they think.
The NHL set that up to be better. They went out of their way to make that a better situation than they had to because of that reason. And it's not like MLB is going to step in and make John Fisher make the Las Vegas A's any better because they could have done it years ago in Oakland, but they refused to. Maybe Rob will change his mind. I think Portland, though, has to be number one for me because what Harry was just saying, you've got two teams in Texas that are in the central time zone that are playing in a Western division. And then you've got Seattle all the way up there who has to travel the most miles every year. If you put a team in Portland, you make both those teams have a little bit shorter distance. You can add a team into the Western time zone, and you don't have to worry about travel as much because you can keep it closer. Now, no, those teams are both going to lose when it comes to traveling anyway, but at least you have two closer teams, and you eliminate them having to go to Texas as often as they do now.
I'll say that when it became clear Oakland was that ship had sailed, I wanted them to stay in Oakland. It was clear that was no longer an option. I was saying on both Locked On A's when I guest hosted there and on my show, it makes more sense to move them to Portland than Las Vegas. Portland has a deeply rooted, not just fan base, but population. And they're very provincial. That's the type of fans you want. The way that they've supported not just the Trailblazers, but the soccer team, both men and women. The Northwest are proud of who they are. I know lots of people who are Portlanders who have been there, and they have a lot of pride in that. I also know a bunch of people. I disagree with you about Nashville. There is a deeply rooted population that has been in Nashville for a long time. It is not Vegas. It's not Hollywood. It's its own thing. In fact, there's a wonderful movie called Nashville made in the 1970s, which is basically about how it's a great movie about it just follows all these different characters, including Jeff Goldblum and Scott Glenn. It's got a great cast, and it's basically about how Nashville is its own world and its own politics, its own celebrities, and they don't recognize other movies. They're just their own place. And when I went to Nashville, I got that sense, and they love the Predators. They love the Titans, and they've shown they can support the team. And it's a big city, and it also can sort of maybe sap into those other markets around them, whether it's into the southern Kentucky. Northern Kentucky is obviously going to be Cincinnati, but it could sap into Memphis. It could sap into parts of the Carolinas and be one of those regional teams. Portland is amazing because it already would have a built-in rival with Seattle. Portland's one of my favorite cities in the world. It's such a beautiful city. And if I move to Portland, I might adopt the Portland team. Watch the movie The Battered Bastards of Baseball on Netflix, which is a documentary about the Portland minor league team that was bought by Kurt Russell's father in the 1970s. And they turned it was an independent, it was an unaffiliated team, so they had open tryouts, and it became the biggest draw in minor league baseball. It's kind of this, they were just a bunch of dudes not trying to get to the major leagues, just trying to play ball. It's on Netflix. It's wonderful. It's funny. You'll just love it. But it's also about the maniacal sports fans of Portland. And they were a team, they were a city that tried to get the Expos, tried to get expansion over the years. And I think they could refurbish the current soccer stadium, which used to be the baseball home of the Beavers and the Portland Mavericks, as a temporary home before building the ballpark that they wanted. The Portland Diamond Project, I'm not affiliated with them. There are no kickbacks, but they've been really, really key in trying to get a lot of people there, including friend of the podcast, Dale Murphy, who is a native of Oregon and wants to see Major League Baseball go there.
So on top of the Portland idea and kind of considering Nashville and all of it, and we haven't really talked too much about Raleigh or Charlotte or Salt Lake City, do you think that there's a chance that they add a second Western team like Salt Lake City or something like that and just go double West and then move one of those central teams to like one of the Eastern divisions? It sort of seems like they're about to realign the AL and NL as almost the East and the West, like in the NBA.
I feel that you got to do either 1-1 or 2-2. You can't just do 2 on one coast and then you have the same issue that you're having right now. You got teams that you don't have the amount of number of teams to just move around and relocate them to or realign them in another division and put them in the correct spot. So I feel that you either got to do 1-1 or go out and put 4 more new teams out there, which I don't think they will do. I think then it just becomes too diluted out there because, for starters, you get 2 new teams, and that also helps CBA talks. And you know how there's people talking about the cap space and everything. You go to the MLBPA and be like, hey, there's going to be 2 new 40-man rosters out there to fill. There's going to be more money coming into the players, more salaries, and that's another selling point when it comes to the negotiations. So that's also positive for the players. But we can't dilute the product that much. I think it just has to be 1 team on one coast, 1 on the other, and then it just sets up perfectly to have everybody. I think Portland and Nashville, they're the front runners right now. I know Salt Lake has had hype for a couple of years now, but I feel that it's more towards the Portland situation. That way you have Portland and Seattle up there. That's a great rivalry that they're going to be able to have. And then you have, what would it be, Angels and A's in the division if you're not going to split up the NL West as much. So I think that would be the best case scenario.
They've never expanded more than 2 at a time. Maybe Sully knows better than I do.
No,
I don't think they've ever done that before.
There were 4 teams that was expanded in 1969. Expos, the Expos, the Padres, the Kansas City Royals, and drumroll please, your Seattle Pilots. By the way, if you want to read about some of the interesting, let's just use the word interesting again. This is not I do not get kickbacks. This is a book by Andy McHugh, and it's called Stumbling Around the Bases. And it's all about how the American League botched expansion time in and time out. That the National League got a team into New York. The National League got the team into Houston. And the American League got the second banana in Los Angeles. And another team in Washington that didn't work, they had to move them. A team in Seattle, that didn't work, so they had to move them. And the only reason why they expanded then was because the A's moved from Kansas City, and Kansas City was going to sue and expose the antitrust exemption, and they wanted a team by 69, and Seattle wasn't going to be ready till 72, so they played outdoors in the rain and went bankrupt and became the Milwaukee Brewers. And how they were bought was basically illegal, and Seattle was going to sue them, and guess what? They expanded again to create the Seattle Mariners. The American League. This is a really fascinating book by Andy McHugh, because this is also when the American League and National League were really two different entities, and the American League kept whiffing, and the National League kept hitting it out of the ballpark, with the possible exception of Montreal, though Montreal did have success initially. But no, the one time they expanded by 4 teams was in 1969.
Yeah, I kind of feel like if you do expand by 4 teams in this one, we're just becoming like the NCAA tournament. We're just going to keep adding a bunch of teams in here, and eventually everybody's going to make the playoffs at some point. But I know this.
Already have playing games.
Exactly. With all the realignment talk, I've seen a couple of proposals that would put interleague rivals in the same division. I got to get you guys' feelings on that coming up next. If you can't watch your favorite Locked On MLB podcast on YouTube, you can always listen to us on your favorite podcast app. We're on literally all of them out there. Go check us out today. All right, like I mentioned, with realignment, there's a lot of different proposals about what divisions could look like, and it seems as though we're getting smaller divisions. We're going to go down to 4 teams in each division. And so with that, there's a lot more movement toward geographical alignment and less travel and things like that. One of the things that I have seen has put like the Guardians and the Reds in the same division, the Dodgers and the Angels in the same division, the White Sox and the Cubs in the same division, things like that. These almost in-state or in-city rivalries, Yankees and Mets, in the same spot. Let me ask you guys that. Would you want that as something that you've only seen like twice?
Yes. And did I mention... maybe I haven't been clear of my stance on this. Yes. If we are going to abolish the American League and National League, because there's no difference between the two, especially since the universal DH. I've always hated the universal DH because I like the DH and I like not having a DH. You can like more than one thing in life. I like the movie Airplane, and I also like the movie Goodfellas. Those are 2 different movies. I enjoy them both. I like sushi and ice cream. I think I can come up with another example. But the fact of the matter is, if you're going to do that, then let's have, I think what my fantasy would be, if we have 32 teams, you have 4 divisions, 4 18 divisions, North, South, Central, West. And you can do your alignment on that. You can have your inter grouping there all you want. And if you want to call the West Coast teams the National League and the East Coast teams the American League, go ahead, because it might be weird to say the American League champion Los Angeles Dodgers are taking on the National League champion Boston Red Sox. I get that. Throw a bone to it. But the fact of the matter is, if we're going to do this, do this. And
what would sound weirder if you say the Western champion Los Angeles Dodgers versus the Eastern champion Boston Red Sox. So keep it national.
Hockey fans figured it out. Hockey fans were able to work it, because that was like the Lord Fauntleroy Cup versus the Patrick Norris. I lost track of it. You know, the Conn Smythe goes to the first of the Patrick division. Nope. Yeah, sorry. I haven't caught up in my Downton Abbey, so I'm not sure who won this hockey tournament. But I think we can. I think we as a nation will succeed.
Houston and Milwaukee fans have all figured it out. They're in new leagues. They've all figured it out, and it's worked out great for both of them. Because look, the Astros won a World Series when they moved to the American League, and the Brewers are having a great time right now in the National League. Last time I checked, I think they've lost a couple in a row. So things are getting ugly. I will say the one proposal I saw on, I think it was on, I can't remember what network it was. One person did propose that Cleveland moves into the Mid-Atlantic division with the Orioles, the Nationals, and the Pirates, but they have a Great Lakes division. And I'm like, how do you have a Great Lakes division? Cleveland is not in it. We literally have a Great Lake, literally right down the street from the ballpark. How are they in the Mid-Atlantic? They're not anywhere near the Atlantic Ocean. Neither are the Pirates, for that matter. But that was a weird one to me. No, I would be all in favor of the Reds and the Pirates being Cleveland's division, mostly because it would be more competitive. Because the other teams in the American League Central, the Dodgers or the Tigers tend to spend a little bit more than they do. I don't know how many more teams are going to be spending if we have more teams in the league and there's not a salary cap or the owners get richer. But I would love to see the Reds and the Guardians and the Pirates all in one division. Let's take advantage of geographical rivalries. It works really well in the NFL. Why not try it in Major League Baseball?
Yeah. Here you go. Not a lot of people are talking about like in the West because they want to preserve Dodgers Giants. But if the Dodgers, Angels, A's, and Padres were in the same division, you can drive from LA to each of the other three stadiums, and it would still be a shorter drive than driving from LA to San Francisco. And that's what they're trying to do. Make shorter trips, make it less impactful to the bodies of the players being on planes, all the transit moving up and down, even though it's charter. I can tell you personally, I travel charter during football season. It's still a pain in the butt being on a plane for as many hours going from the West Coast to the East Coast. So if you're able to just put the travel, make it that lower impacting, that would be great. Even if you end up, instead of playing 4 times a year against your rival, in this case the Dodgers and the Giants, you'll still play them once a year if they end up in the same league.
And two of my best friends from college got married, and one is a rabid Yankee fan. Was a Yankee fan during the Kevin Moss, Roberto Kelly years, and the other is a all Philly all the time guy. They both live in Manhattan. Loving couple, great couple. And when the thing of the realignment, the wife, my friend Michelle, posted, if the Yankees and the Phillies are in the same division, our marriage may not survive.
Well, and on the Angels and Dodgers side of it all, like maybe that's something that if the Angels keep their dominance up against the Dodgers, then Dodgers fans have to acknowledge that that Anaheim is kind of close to LA. Like, I mean, maybe that's
hey, we admit it. They're close, but they're not LA. They're literally
it's not even the right county.
Orange County, not Los Angeles County. But yeah, no, and it's like, hey, that's a rivalry you have, and it's not going to go anywhere.
Right. Cal State Fullerton, the Harvard of Orange County, where I got my master's degree.
What do you guys think? And our last thing to kind of bandy about for today's squad show is this. I saw a proposal of basing divisions based on like market size and how much teams spend and things like that. Like that's starting to feel like Power 5 and Mid 5 and all that other stuff.
No.
Yeah, what? One division is going to get more playoff berths than the other? No. It's literally just location. That's how you got to base it. If you're relocating because you want to have the travel to be less stressful and less distance, you can't do something like that.
Well, I think you just throw names in a hat every year and have a new division. I mean, Oregon and UCLA are in the Big Ten. Why not? I mean, just throw names in the hat. If you just want the money going around, then do that. Ohio State has got lots of money. Oregon's got lots of money. The Yankees got lots of money. So the Yankees and Dodgers are in the same division. Why not? I mean, that's how the NCAA is doing it. And it's doing great, right? No one's got any problems in the NCAA.
I'll also say this, that in terms of the CBA and everything like this, in terms of money spending, look, the players already conceded a big thing the last time with the luxury tax. I say you make the luxury tax a little stricter, but you also have to have a salary floor. It's like an entry fee. You got to have a salary floor. You know, if you want to field a major league team, and if you take revenue sharing, you kind of like we got a grant in Pasadena High when the fire hit our school district last January. We got a grant for our classroom, but we had to account for every dollar we spent on the grant. If you get revenue sharing, you have to account for every dollar on that. I had to spend every penny of it. Otherwise, I had to return it. But nothing could be on, I went to Jersey Mike's, not a sponsor. No, I had to show that I was buying things for the classroom. If you accept revenue sharing, sorry, John Fisher, you can't go and see the Penn and Teller show in Las Vegas. You have to show how that is going to be used on improving your team. And so I just became Robert De Niro in the Untouchables, working as a team. So I think that will go a long way to also making sure some of these teams are spending closer to each other. And if you're taking money from the big pool, spend it on your team.
You mentioned Jersey Mike's. If they want to become a sponsor, I'm absolutely okay with that. I'd prefer that if that happened. But
all of Sully's affiliate links are in the comments below.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
I think that's a good spot to end it there with a realignment. Sorry, what were you saying, Justin?
I'll say we got books, we got subs, we got movies. Sully's bringing it all in.
He's ready to go.
Bring the money in, Sully, and we'll spend
He's
it.
He's gonna have his own baseball team. He's gonna buy the Las Vegas A's and bring them to Portland.
We are hitting that stretch run, so make sure that you check out your favorite Locked On MLB show, as your team is probably in a playoff race with as many different playoff spots as there are to claim. So make sure you check out your favorite team's Locked On MLB podcast today, especially if your team's chasing the New York Mets. Really seems like they are opening the door for anybody and everybody behind them. Only a half game out as we record this. Let's go Reds. Anyway, that'll do it for today's Locked On MLB Squad show. Had to get a dig in there. Sorry, Ryan. Yeah. Anyway, that'll end it for today's.
Next week.
Yeah, it probably.
Dodgers, Reds.
Get past the Padres first, buddy.
Can't wait for that one.
True that. Hey, you might be catching up to us by then.
Am I the Padres now?
No. I'm talking about Jeff. Jeff and the Reds might be catching up to us by then.
Yeah.
If they learn how to hit with runners in scoring position, we'll see. Anyway, that'll do for us today. Make sure you subscribe to your favorite Locked On MLB show, and make sure you follow Locked On MLB on your favorite podcast app, because we're on all of them out there, because we are part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Easy for me to say, right? Easy for me to say.
Sponsored by your pal Sully.